the man of the hour, my friend and yours, Johnny FD. Woo!
Oh, that was such a good introduction. I actually didn't even tell CJ what to say. I was just like, oh, just say Johnny's up next. But I'm really glad all of you guys are here. And what's actually what I actually really like is a lot of you actually don't really know who I am. Someone was introducing and say, oh, this is Johnny. He started the summit. And they're like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And what I love about it is that it's growing, and it's not just about me. It's really about you guys. It's about the individual speakers, and it's about living this lifestyle no matter what your journey or what your path is. But the reason why I like to have my talk be at the very end is to wrap it all together to make sure not only do you just have the inspiration, then the steps of how to do it and then scale it up, but you leave with actionable step-by-step instructions on what to do next. I don't want anyone leaving saying, that was great, that was amazing, and then 3 weeks later, just let it fizzle out. I want you guys to really make this happen. So my talk is about how to become a successful digital nomad. And let's define what that means. That means laying on a beach with a laptop, not having to worry about sun coming in your eyes because you're above that. You don't even need to care about the sand getting into your laptop keys because Apple's so amazing. Don't worry about the waves crashing on your laptop. They're waterproof now. Thank you, Apple. But in reality, I mean, this is kind of what we see, right? When we see hashtag digital nomad or lifestyle. And here's the thing, is I've actually done kind of most of these things, but you'll never see me doing that for more than 20 minutes. Once in a while, I will open my laptop on a beach because I want to send an email or check on something. And it's amazing having the option to be able to do that. I really think having the freedom of location independence to be able to do that is incredible. But these are little snapshots of kind of the maximum cool photo. And honestly, I don't know who these people are. I just Googled image searched travel blogger, and I just saw these random photos. And there's a chance a lot of them don't make any money at all. And they just, take cool selfies. So what is the actual definition of a successful digital nomad? It's pretty simple. All it really is making enough money, location independently, so you have the time and the freedom to be able to travel and work when and where you choose. It doesn't mean you just magically have this amazing life. You start to work. But the difference is you can do it from Thailand, from Bali, from Mexico, from Europe, in this time zone or that time zone or whatever it is. And today's talk, I'm going to tell you first the journey, how to get there, but also some of the benefits. So I know this is a theme. A lot of people talked about the 4-hour work week. Who here has read the book? Very good. It's most of the room. But who here has actually sat down with a pen and paper or even a laptop and did the exercises? Wow. Very few. And I promise you, when you actually do the exercises, your success will go up tenfold. So you might not even remember this because you might have read it a while ago. You might have skimmed through it. But the main kind of structure in there of how to live the 4-hour work week is this acronym DEAL. You want to define, eliminate, automate, and then liberate. So I'm going to break down what those are and actually how to do it. So for D, it means definition. First, you have to define what your ideal life is before you can really even have it. So for me, I got inspired by the 4-hour work week, and I decided I'm going to go to Thailand. I'm going to go on a 3-week vacation. And I actually went with my cousin, and I was like, this place is amazing. I loved it. I did all these different tours. I went bungee jumping. I did a cooking class. I did all these random things, and I literally discovered scuba diving. I walked by a shop that said, come scuba dive. And I said, okay, let me try it. And it was so cheap. And I remember the very first moment I jumped in the water, I felt like it was going through Stargate. It felt like a whole nother planet. I was like, at first I had all this gear on. You know, you have this heavy tank, you have these fins on, you have this mask on, you're breathing on this, right? And you're nervous, you don't know what's gonna happen. And they're like, okay, do a big jump. And you're like, oh! And all of a sudden you're like discombobulated. There's bubbles everywhere, you don't know if you're upside down. And then you look around, you open your eyes, you're like, oh my God, I can actually see underwater. And then you take a breath and you're like, oh, I can breathe. This is incredible. And then you realize I'm weightless. I can like turn upside down. I can float. This is like being in space. And then when like crazy fish start swimming by, you're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Why didn't anyone tell me I can do this sooner? And obviously, I've seen people do this on National Geographic or Discovery Channel. So I knew it was possible. I just didn't think it was possible for me. I grew up without a bad life. You know, I grew up in California and San Francisco. My parents were immigrants, so we didn't have that much money. But there are people who grew up way worse than me. But even for me, I didn't think I can go scuba diving, especially not in a place like Thailand. So right when I discovered it, I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is what's going to make me happy. And things change. Whatever your definition of happiness is right now or what you want to do, it might change later on. But we need to at least figure out what it is now. Because plenty of people go their whole lives without ever even figuring that part out. So for me, I spent the next couple hours when I got out of the water. Luckily, I was on a boat, and it was beautiful. We went from the Ratchayai Islands back to Phuket, and it's a 3-hour boat ride. And I had asked a million questions to my dive instructor, this Swiss-French guy named Rene Christophe. And he's like, yeah. Like, sure, you're gonna move out here. But I wrote it down. I said, my dream life, pretty simple. I want to scuba dive in Thailand, have no responsibilities, and be able to wear board shorts to work. It's pretty simple. All right? And it's changed now. I still like scuba diving, I'm gonna talk about it later. But that was like my dream. I wanted to have no responsibilities. I wanted to stop having to wake up and put on my white Kirkland signature dress shirt that I had to iron in the morning. It was all wrinkly. I put on a tie, go in a cubicle. I hated it. I hated it so much. I tried to get my girlfriend at the time to iron the shirt for me. And she was like, why would I wake up at like 6:30 to iron the shirt? Like, I don't have to like be up until 8. And I just wasn't very happy. And by the end of this weekend, I want you guys all to be able to answer, what is your dream life? Just quickly, in 3, sentences or less. I want you guys to start thinking about it today. I want you guys to think about it tonight when we're out, tomorrow during the workshop, and by Monday, by the pool party, I want you guys to be able to ask each other, hey, what's your dream life? And I want you to be able to just spit it out real quick. 3 sentences or less, just be able to say it. Everybody okay with that? Should you accept the homework? Accept the challenge? Woo! All right, so one of the exercises that Tim Ferriss has you do is just write down what is the cost of your dream life. Because a lot of people think we have to be millionaires or even multimillionaires to be able to afford it. But in reality, a lot of things don't actually cost as much as we think. So for me, to start living that dream life right away, wear board shorts every day, have no responsibilities, and scuba dive, I could have just paid, $100, $150 a day to stay at a resort in Thailand and do it. And that would have only been $4,500 a month, which, isn't too crazy. It's not insane. I didn't have $4,500 a month, so I couldn't do that. But for some of you, you might have sold a business, you might be retiring, you might have a pension, you might have some, investment income or passive income. Maybe you could just do that now. What I did have was the ability to do a dive master training course, which was about $3,000 because I had to pay for some other things like living and my lower courses. I literally had no training. And I was like, okay, if I can get $3,000, I can become a dive master, which is basically an underwater guide. So I get to work at resorts, take people scuba diving, and I can get paid enough to just get by. Or I can get free accommodation, food, things like that. So I thought, why not? Let's try this. If everything fails, what's the worst that happens? So I give myself 12 weeks to give it a shot. I'm gonna go to Thailand for 3 months, and if it fails, oh well, let me come back and let me figure it out from there. So this comes to the next part, the E, the elimination. This is where I got rid of things. I sold all my stuff. I canceled all my reoccurring bills. I had Netflix, I had a cell phone, I had all these things that some of you might think is completely vital, and it kind of is now. But I got rid of everything. I said, I want to free up as much time and money as I can, so let me get rid of anything that's just not 100% vital. And kind of by doing so, I started living as a minimalist even before the term was popular. Just the fact that I can only check in 1 or 2 bags when I flew, and it was limited to 50 pounds or 23 kilos for you Canadians. I just couldn't bring that much stuff with me. And even then I brought too much. It was just packed. But kind of over the years, I had less stuff, and I was able to recoup $6,000 by selling all my stuff. I originally had written, I made $6,000 or I earned $6,000, but in reality, buying that stuff in the first place cost me way more. And that's probably one of the biggest money-saving hacks in the world, or money-making hacks, is just don't buy it in the first place. So I recouped $6,000. I sold my car, sold a bunch of furniture, sold my clothes, sold my kitchen appliances on Craigslist, just whatever I can get rid of. And more than that, more than just having $6,000 up front, I was able to cut my expenses by almost $2,000 from living in an expensive place like LA and having, a car insurance, paying for gas, apartment, going out to eat, things like that, to living cheaply in Thailand for about $600 a month. More than that, I added a lot of free time because I had very little responsibilities. Even living in the cheapest, crappiest place in Thailand, for whatever reason, it normally comes with house cleaning. So I was living in a bamboo hut for $150 a month, and I had someone come clean my hut and change my sheets every 2 weeks. So I had no responsibilities, I didn't have to wash my car, I didn't have to get oil changes anymore, I didn't have to go grocery shopping because it's so cheap to eat out. I just got rid of all of it. And I don't know if you guys can really understand this until you take that step, but having less stuff really does give you more freedom. I wish I had a photo of all the crap I got rid of, but it kind of looked like this. I think I was kind of a hoarder. I loved getting good deals. I loved buying stuff just in case. I loved filling up every little nook and cranny of my apartment because I felt like having some empty space meant my life wasn't complete. Or I thought, hey, if I buy this thing that I really need, then I'll be happy, or then I'll be fulfilled. And none of that was true. And I went from spending about $3,000 a month living in California to spending about $600 a month living in Thailand. And I did it for maybe 4 or 5 years. And I don't know if you guys are, some of you guys are spending way more than $3,000 a month, maybe people from Vancouver. Or some of you might be spending a little bit less, if you're somewhere cheaper, but more or less, it was a huge decrease in spending. Has anyone here seen Fight Club? I wish I would have taken this quote more to heart when I first watched it. I love the movie, but I didn't really live it. And a quote in there that I really liked was, "The things you own end up owning you. It is only after we've lost, or in this case eliminated, everything that we are free to do anything." And I really believe in this. And I know this is true because every time I meet someone who says oh, Johnny, I wish I can move to Thailand, or I wish I can come with you to Europe this summer. I would love to do that. Sounds great. But, and that but, sometimes it's a valid excuse, but a lot of times it really isn't. And a lot of times if they just kind of freed up their life a bit and had less responsibilities, less bills to pay, just less crap in their life, they'd be able to do it. So I was scared. I wish I can, stand here and say, I was so super confident. I knew it was going to work, but I really didn't. And I was really, really glad that I read the 4-Hour Workweek on my way to Thailand on the plane and did those exercises, because one of the exercises was, what would happen if you gave it your all, you tried it, you went after your dream, and you failed? You did a terrible job. You are a loser. It all goes to crap, and it's all your fault. What would happen? How long would it take you to get your life back exactly where it is today? In my case, I figured I would have nowhere to live. Maybe I can move in with my parents, even though I don't want to. I can get another job, even though it'd probably be another job I didn't like. I can buy another car, I can buy new clothes, buy more stuff, kind of just replace everything. And I thought about it, I was like, I don't think it would take that long. It would take me maybe 3 or 4 months to get back to exactly where I am today. And I want you guys to really take the time to write this out and think about it. Maybe tonight when you guys get back from the after party, or, on your plane ride back to wherever you guys came from, the 48 hours back to Asia or to Canada. And I want you guys to really figure out, worst case scenario, what would happen? And how long would it take you to get back to where you are now? So, assuming that you're like, okay, let's give this a shot, let's try it out. You want to go to the next stage. A, automation. And I used to actually think that automation meant automating your bill pay and kind of automating those things. But actually what Tim meant was just making money online, having your income on automation. Getting, the bill pay and things like that would be more elimination. You're eliminating the responsibility to have to manually go in and pay that bill. So this is where you would start an online business. You scale it up as much as possible. Maybe you can automate it in ways by using software to automate it, or to outsource or hire employees to run the business so you can free up your time to get yourself out of it. For me, I actually didn't really know how to start an online business. I kind of did what some of you guys did. I just Googled, I don't even know, was it Google back then even? I searched online, how to make money online. And the very first thing I found was, you can publish a book. And at the time, Kindle just started getting popular. And I thought, okay, let me try this. And I started making $200 a month from that. And I was like, wow, this is great. And then I started a dropshipping store. I took the course with Anton, and I started making about $3,000 a month. I was like, oh, this is great. I ended up selling that course with Empire Flippers, who's the sponsor this weekend, and I invested a lot of that. And with other passive income and my investment income, I started making about $5,000 a month, and I still do today. But here's the thing, is I didn't really choose those. Those are kind of my only 3 choices, the only first 3 things I ever heard about. Literally the very first business model I ever heard about was publishing a book. And I didn't know how to do it. I never met an author. I never met anyone who's done it. I was literally living at a Muay Thai gym at the time for, I think it was $170 a month, living and sleeping and training, and just, it wasn't like a digital life at all. It was literally like being in Muay Thai shorts, just dirty, bunch of dudes. And I realized I love scuba diving, but I can't do it every day for the rest of my life. I had realized that at that point, I had spent the equivalent of 1 month underwater. I did 1,000 dives at about 45 minutes to an hour each, and I was getting exhausted. It's kind of tough on your body. And I had turned 30 at the time, and I was like, I can't do Muay Thai now either, because stepping in the ring with these trained fighters, and getting paid $150 to fight some dude to the death is not a great way to make money. But I had mastered living cheaply, following my passions, and I enjoyed the crap out of those 4 years. And this is a point I always want to drive to everybody. And Camille mentioned in her talk a bit, is you don't have to jump from, location dependence or freedom to trying to make six figures or trying to make a ton of money. You can take a step and say, you know what, I just want the freedom to be able to do my passion. And this is where Tim talks about how much does it really cost to fulfill your dream. And for me, it was $600 a month. It's like, I promise most of you guys spend more than that on dumb crap all the time. Some of you will spend that much tonight at the club. But I got to scuba dive, I got to do Muay Thai, I got to do it in Thailand. I really loved it. And I had some, this experience of living cheaply and following my passion. So I wrote my book, 12 Weeks in Thailand, The Good Life on the Cheap. And that was my first and only choice I knew at the time. Until this day, I still make, a couple $100 from my books that are completely passive. And I wrote that maybe 5 years ago. But I'm so happy it's there because it's this moment in my life that's been captured where if someone wanted to follow that part of the journey and do it for themselves, that's the book I would tell them to do or to read. I would say, don't follow what I'm doing now. Just go and enjoy your life for whatever it is, whether you want to be a ski bum, whether you want to do scuba diving, whether you want to go hiking, do yoga all day, whatever it is, go do that for a few years. But once you don't love it anymore, then move on to the next one. And it was actually during the process of trying to figure out how to market this book and grow that income from $200 a month to $600 so that I can actually live in Thailand forever, which is my original goal. I started taking people out to dinner. Anyone who I could meet who had, 4-hour work week or entrepreneur or business on their profile, and I would just offer them dinner. And I'd say, hey, I see you're in Thailand, I see you're into 4-hour work week, I see you're into marketing, can I take you out? Can I take you to dinner? And the reason why I don't recommend, saying, can I pick your brain over coffee, is people can buy their own damn coffee. Nobody really wants, and nobody successful wants to trade their time with some complete stranger for a cup of coffee. But I can tell you, everyone loves free food. And for whatever reason, the richer someone gets, the more they love free shit. So offered to take them out to dinner, and I took out a bunch of people. I took out people who were really good at like SEO, people who were good into affiliate stuff, people who were really into copywriting or development. And I got some tips from almost everybody. But the one guy that had the best advice was this guy named Anton Kraly. And he really gave me a lot of secrets on how to, sell more books. And then I asked him what he does. And it turns out he did something called dropshipping, which is basically selling physical items without first buying the inventory. It just means you become an authorized dealer for a brand or a company, and they ship those items directly. Nowadays, people will dropship things from China, AliExpress, so anybody can be an authorized dealer. You're basically just buying crap from China and sending it to someone. But at the time, I took his course, Dropship Lifestyle, and they're sponsored this week. And they're actually having a Labor Day sale, so if anyone wants to check them out, you can go. But I took his course. That was the only time I ever even heard the subject. I never Googled it. I never, listened to a million things about it. I just took the course, and it worked for me. And the third thing I ever even thought about or found was something called Udemy, which is an online kind of teaching platform where anybody can teach a course or a skill. And to be honest, it's not the best place to make a bunch of money. I use it to have some cheap courses on there because it's pretty passive, but you can make a lot more money hosting it on your own site or on Teachable, like Grace does and Camille does. But I saw people on Udemy selling courses, and I did the math about number of students times the purchase price, and I was like, man, there's some people making hundreds of millions of dollars on this Udemy thing. And even then, I thought, there's no possible way these crappy courses are making that much. And I was right. But I also calculated, like, what if they're just making like 10% of what it looks like? Is it worth it? And I've actually never showed this to anyone before, but this is my Udemy dashboard. And since I've started Udemy, years and years ago, I've actually made quite a bit of money from it. I've made $19,500 from these crappy, cheap courses, which is nothing to sneeze at. And this is actually my first and probably one of my best performing courses. It's called Small Talk Networking, How to Talk to Anyone. And the reason why I started this course was because I was dating a girl in Chiang Mai who I was madly in love with, and we wanted to travel the world together. Unfortunately, she was teaching English, so she didn't have the time to do it. She didn't want to, quit her job because she needed income. And she was like, hey, Johnny, you do online business. Can you just show me how to start a dropshipping store? And I was like, wait a minute. You don't have no skills online. And I was like, this is a big jump. Like, you're going to have to really dedicate the next couple of months to learning, everything from scratch. I was like, why don't we do a test first? Let's try this Udemy thing, which I kind of heard of. I don't know if it works, but if anything, we'll learn some more of the basic skills doing this, and then if it works out, then let's try, starting an e-commerce store. So she, was really into psychology, and we were like, okay, let's have a course to kind of help people with small talk, something really kind of basic that some of us take for granted. But I don't know if you guys know this. I used to be really shy and really insecure. And I had a whole different life 10, 15, 20 years ago. I used to come to Vegas. This is really embarrassing. I used to come to Vegas with a bunch of other insecure, nerdy Asian guys and try to learn how to pick up women or talk to girls. And that was a huge chapter of my life that is super embarrassing nowadays. I hope nobody ever brings it up again. But it gave me a lot of the skills and confidence to be able to network and talk to people now, but also to create this course. Because a lot of things that we learned in there were actually very helpful, like eye contact, body language, smiling, not being this shy, kind of awkward person. And we created this course, and in total, we split it 50-50. So we've now each made $5,200 from it. And this is something that we made in her free time after work or on weekends when she was done teaching English. And here's the thing, is some of you might look at it and be like, okay, I would love to have this. This is amazing. And some of you might be thinking, that's not enough money. That's over 5 years. It's really not that much per month. It's only a couple $100 a month. And you're right. But this is who I would recommend it to. First, I want you guys to always think of it as there's options that we never even thought about. And everything works. You just have to put the dedication into it. And think about it this way. To gain the skills that we learned, literally she had zero web skills at all. She didn't even know how to resize a photo at the time. Educating her from zero to being able to create an online business of passive income, she could have went the traditional route and went to university for it and spent 20 grand getting an MBA or going to school for it. Or she could spend that same year, create something that might end up making her 20 grand. And to me, this is way better. So now, fast forward 2018, nobody has an excuse that they can't think of what to do, that they don't know, what business to get into, if anything, if there's anything, because I literally had 3 options, and there wasn't even 3 options at once. It was one option, did it, found a second thing, did that, found a third thing that did that. Now there is so much information out there. And I think it's actually harder trying to sort through all that than it was not having any options at all. Nowadays, even with just my podcast, which is free, by the way, Travel Like a Boss, we've had over 200 episodes. And with Invest Like a Boss, which is my new podcast, we've had over 100. So in total, there's 300 episodes about making money online or passive income. Whether you have money to invest and you want to get into, index funds and peer-to-peer loans and things like that, or if you're bootstrapping a business and you want to learn how to, grow it from, passively online, we've had people talk about everything. I mean, we've had people create physical products like hammocks and supplements, bicycle tires. We've had people publish books on like paleo diet. We've had people create startup SaaS products, which is like software as a service. We've had people creating a podcast editing service. Literally probably 200 plus different business models. And I know they all work because these people I've met and I've hand selected them to interview. So I know it works. So we have to just choose something. And this is where kind of the L comes in. To be honest, you can actually skip everything I said and just become a remote employee for your business now. And this is actually a big part of Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, where he spends half of it just teaching you how you can convince your existing boss to let you work remotely. And if you want to do that, just go that route. Or you can take a lot of things that you learned today, move to a cheaper place, practice location arbitrage, and be surrounded by other like-minded people who are all wanting to do the same thing. I think what makes this summit so powerful isn't just the knowledge you learned here on stage, but meeting each other. And some of you guys have gone your whole lives without being able to network and meet other people who have this dream of wanting to travel, be location independent, start a business, and make money online. Even CJ, who is this like smart, inspiring guy, even him, he couldn't find anyone who wanted to even talk about this without thinking he was crazy. They're like, what, you want to move to Thailand? And I'm sure a lot of you guys, and a lot of you girls are like, I want to have other people talk, to like talk about this stuff with, without them putting me down and giving me a bunch of excuses why it doesn't work. So I want to share kind of with you some of these kind of costs of living. When I was living in LA, I was spending about $3,000 a month, with my rent and all my bills and everything. And here's the thing is I couldn't just make $3,000 a month because of all the crazy taxes, especially in California. I had to make $50,000 a year just to have a basic life living in California. This wasn't anything fancy. This is me having a roommate. This is me buying a used car, not being able to go out and do anything crazy. To live an even better life, I was actually just spending $1,000 a month in Chiang Mai. For $1,000 a month, you can have your own place. You can have 1-bedroom apartment to yourself with maid service. You can eat out 21 meals a week. You can have a CrossFit membership. You can have a co-working space membership. You can travel. Like, it's so much cheaper. And here's the crazy thing, is you don't have to make that much money. Because you're not paying as much taxes, you can literally just make $12,000 a year and be able to live that life now. And I would guarantee every single person in here, if you just can make $12,000. It's really not that hard. And you can start living kind of the life you want to live without having to try to make $1 million or even make 100,000. It really is this attainable. Have any of you guys ever heard of the Big Mac Index? This is actually like one of economists' favorite terms. It's a way to compare equivalent products through different regions and see the price discrepancy. And a Big Mac is a Big Mac. I know sometimes people try to say, oh man, Big Macs in Poland are so much tastier. They're not. I've had McDonald's kind of everywhere in the world. And whether it's amazing or bad, they taste the same. The only difference is the price. And there's some places like Sweden or Switzerland that are way overpriced, even more expensive than the US, which, to be honest, I think is kind of overpriced anyways. I was really shocked when I saw a Big Mac was over $5. Not even for the meal, just for the burger. And then you have countries that are a bit cheaper in Spain and Japan. Actually, so Thailand's not on the map, but it's just right under Japan. And the cheapest place in the world to buy a Big Mac is somewhere I just spent the last 2 months. Ukraine. And here's the thing. It is the exact same fucking Big Mac. It's just a quarter of the price. I mean, imagine if you could do that with like MacBooks or iPhones. Like how many of you guys would fly to Ukraine right now? And the only reason why it's that cheap is because their economy is not doing very good. The currency was devalued a few years ago. And this might change. You know, next year, Ukraine might be more expensive and Argentina might be way cheaper, you know, and it just fluctuates. But this is what's amazing about having location independence and being a digital nomad is we can move with the flow of the economy and we can always live the best life possible for the best value. And I love value. So here's a couple of photos. I want you guys to try to guess which ones were taken here in the US and which ones were taken in Ukraine. You can shout it out. So this is a trick question because all of them were taken in Ukraine. And here's the thing. Ukraine has great burgers. They have beaches. They have pool, pool parties. But here's the difference. Is if you want to go to a pool party here in Vegas and you want to get a cabana and you want to got a bottle of champagne, how much are you guys spending? $500, $1,000. It's expensive, right? At a very similar pool party in Ukraine, it was $40. That's for a cabana and a bottle of champagne. And when I said to a friend, he was like, why don't we just get 10? And I thought, I guess we could, but that kind of defeats the whole purpose. But I wanted to really show you that photo to illustrate kind of what the benefits are, right? And this is my whole kind of nomad journey kind of summed up. In 2007, I was actually making quite a bit of money. I was making $48,000 a year at a corporate job. It's a place called Honeywell. And I read the 4-hour work week, got rid of all my stuff, and recouped $6,000 one time. Started working as a dive master for about 4 years, Muay Thai as well, making about $600 a month. And then I wrote my ebook, started making $200 a month. And this isn't like, you don't add these up. This is literally a graph of my income going down, which you almost never see. But here's the thing, my happiness was actually going up. And it wasn't until 2014, almost 7 years later, or 5 years, 6 years later, that I started actually replacing my US salary and making almost the same that I was making. But I loved those years. It was really amazing. In fact, some of the happiest times I had were when I wasn't making that much money. But it was really fun. Started making $2,000 to $5,000, sometimes $10,000 a month. And here's the thing, is the way to do it isn't that complicated. And I know this is supposed to say, keep it simple, stupid, but I thought that would be kind of rude. But really, if I overthought it, I probably never would have done anything or got started. And Grace is going to yell at me, but for the first 5 years, I didn't even file taxes. But here's a secret. The IRS does not give a fuck about a guy living in Thailand making $600 a month. All right? You should probably just file anyways, but don't worry about it. Even when I started making a little bit more money, I just did it as a sole proprietor. And all that means is you don't do anything. You just do it under your name. You just have all the money just put in your personal checking account. And it wasn't until I started making over $100,000 a year that I really started looking into the tax savings and the benefits. That's when I legally moved from California to Texas, even though I haven't even been living in California for the last 5 years. I guess I could have retroactively got my 36 cents back. But I was like, okay, what is this foreign earned income exclusion? What is the way to get rid of state taxes? And honestly, it would have been much better if I did it at the beginning of the year than at the end of the season, because I would miss out on a whole year's worth of savings. But this is why I'm so excited to have Grace speak here at the summit and introduce you guys to these things now before you're going through the process, or for you guys to get on it now rather than later, because I've wasted a lot of money paying the tax man when I could have just done this earlier. But kind of the big jump was 2 years ago, in 2016, 2017, I was really crushing it. That was when I was working, I was hustling like 40, 60 hours a week. I was living in Chiang Mai, I was building businesses. I had like 3 dropshipping stores at once. I had affiliate marketing campaigns going. I had so many things happening, and I crushed it that year. I made $325,000 in a year. And that's when I changed everything over. I started an international business company in Belize. And I started just paying myself as an employee, started LLCs, did all that stuff. And then I sold everything. I realized that was great, and I'm really happy I actually saved most of that money. I didn't go crazy. But that isn't what really made me that happy. So I actually got rid of everything. I invested it all. I have a bunch of money in savings now, in retirement. And now I'm kind of back to making $5,000 to $10,000 a month, but pretty just passive income. A lot of it's investment income. But what's been really nice is since 2015, when I was making a lot, I've committed to giving my parents $1,000 a month. And it was probably the best decision I ever made, and probably the best thing I ever spent money on. I spent money on a lot of stupid things, even when I was broke living in LA, but especially when I was making a lot. But that $1,000 check that I would give my parents, and it's actually a paper check, because my parents didn't know what their routing number was. So I went to chase.com and I just set up like an auto bill pay where they basically just send a check in the mail every month. And I said, okay, reoccurring every month, $1,000. And then they said, what is this for? Like, what do you want to write in the memo? And I wrote, Mommy, I love you. And I was going to just change it after a while, but she really liked it. And I kept messaging her every month or calling her saying, hey, can you give me your routing number so I can set up auto deposit so you don't have to go to the bank? And she just kept blowing me off. And I was like, Mom, like, how hard is it? Just give me your freaking routing number. And she just like would never answer it. And it wasn't until like 6, 7, 8 months later that my dad finally told me why she liked getting the paper check. I thought it was a hassle. I thought it'd be so much easier if I direct deposited the money in her bank. But she loved getting that paper check in the mail every month, going down to the bank. My dad would always be there, and then she would wait in line, smile on her face. She'd give the check to the teller, and she'd just wait. And without fail, every single month, the teller would read the memo and be like, wow. And that feeling, I don't think you can buy that with any amount of money. And I actually thought, maybe I should put my dad's name on there too, like, I love you, Mom and Dad. But then I realized my dad gets so much joy from just standing, behind her and watching her light up and smile. And these are my parents. And I'm so excited that after the summit, in a few days, I get to go spend a few weeks with them in San Francisco. And then we're going to go to Thailand together. I see them twice a year now, but when we see each other, it's really quality time because we're usually going on vacation somewhere, either in Europe or in Thailand or in Taiwan, or when I see them in California, I don't have responsibilities or a job to have to go to. And they don't have to either because now they can both retire. And honestly, my original goal was just to make $1,000 a month for myself. It wasn't to make it for my parents. I honestly never even thought of that. I was like, if I can make $1,000, I can live in Thailand for the rest of my life. I'm going to be perfectly happy. That's all I need. And when I started making that, I realized I can scale that up and I can make more. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to get that net worth milli. And I'm so fortunate that I started hanging out with people like Sam Marks, who's my co-host for Invest Like a Boss, and all his friends who make, millions of dollars or have net worths of 10 million or more. And I realized none of them are that happy. Or at least they're not happier than me. Like, Sam's a happy guy, but he's not any happier than I am. And even when we hang out, like, we just spent 2 weeks together in Spain, and we drove a car from Spain to Portugal. We were eating the same food, we were staying in the same places, we were doing the same things. And if anything, he had to rush back for meetings and to do stuff, and I was just chilling. So my new goal really is just to be happy. I want to go back to Chiang Mai, live a cheap life. I'm not even going to get the penthouse like I had last time I was there. I'm just going to get a normal place. I want to join another gym. I want to get back in shape. I just want to have a normal life again and just enjoy it and just be happy. And here's the thing, is it costs a lot less money to be happy than you guys think. They did a study that in the US, with a family, the happiness kind of level doesn't go up after $75,000 a year. And of course, if you're broke and you're struggling to pay bills, you don't know how to, feed your kids, you're afraid of getting evicted, you're not going to be happy. It's going to suck. But once you start making enough money where you can have a reliable car, you can have, live in a safe neighborhood, more money doesn't make you any happier. And the difference between 75,000 or making over 6 figures is the difference between being able to afford a brand new Honda Accord, which isn't a luxury car, but it's reliable, it's comfortable, it's safe, versus having a luxury car or Mercedes or BMW. We might think it makes us happy because that's kind of covering up another part of our lives, but in reality, it really doesn't. But here's the kind of hack that we can implement, learning what we've learned today, is to be happy in a cheaper country, like in Thailand or in Ukraine or in Mexico or any of these other places that we've kind of talked about and thought about. It costs so much less. You can be very, very happy in Chiang Mai making $18,000 a year. That's like $1,500 a month. You can live anywhere you want to live. You can live, in the city center and just walk everywhere. You can eat out every meal. You can just, you can have a maid. You can get massages literally every day until you get tired of getting massages. And here's the thing, is because it's so much cheaper, the goal becomes so much more attainable. Literally 400% more attainable. And I guarantee once you're there, and it doesn't have to be Thailand. I know I'm promoting Thailand. I wish, Tourism Board was sponsor. But they're not. For me, I love Thailand, and I think a lot of you would too. But once you're location independent, you can move anywhere. And I want all of you to know that it is possible and it is easier than you might previously have thought. It is also very nice to make, 75,000 or 750,000 a year or $1 million a year and be able to do it in more expensive places. And you might have expensive hobbies like racing motorcycles or having Ferraris, and that's okay. But I don't want you guys to thinking that is the only way to be happy or the only way to have the ultimate dream. So to kind of sum it up, the 4 steps, DEAL, I never want you guys to forget this, is I want you guys to define your perfect life. I want you to eliminate anything that's not vital to getting that perfect life. I want you to automate your income. So if you're trading time for money, think of a way where you can pull yourself out of that equation. And then I want you to enjoy the freedom and the liberation because it really is worth it. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate you guys coming. All right, so I want to leave you guys with these 2 books. If you guys haven't yet, you got to read the 4-Hour Work Week, do the actual exercises. And then my book, Life Changes Quick, is kind of the follow-up of what I actually did to obtain all that. And to be honest, here's a big secret. If you want to know how to be successful or get to that step you want to be at, don't look at what that person is doing today. Look at what they did to get there. Because if you look at what I do now, I do things like for business-wise, I do things that don't make any money. I do a podcast, which has barely broken even over 4 years. I spent the last 4 months putting together the summit, which up until yesterday was losing money. So thank you for everyone who's bought last minute tickets and workshops. But I do this because I can now, and I love it. I really enjoy it. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to hopefully make money from this in the future. I would love for this to be a 1,000 person or 10,000 person event and make $1 million a year from it. It'd be fucking amazing. But I never would be able to do it, dedicate so much time and resources if it wasn't for everything that I did before to have enough money in the bank and have enough passive income where I didn't have to worry about these things. So that's why I'm so happy I wrote this book, because it documents exactly what I did to achieve those goals. So if you haven't read it yet, you can check it out on Amazon. You can find it online. We have a couple copies in the back that I'm happy to make out to you guys if you guys get one. But that's really about it. So if you guys want to follow more, know more, my blog is johnnyyfd.com. Thank you guys for coming.